Hello everyone, Weather Jamaica here. Welcome to this updated video on the day across Jamaica and the rest of the Caribbean. It is Wednesday evening, November 22, 2023. Now before we jump into it, please ensure that you guys like the video, share it, subscribe and tap notification bell so that you'll be notified every time I post a brand new video. Feel free to leave a comment down in the comment section letting me know what though that's been like in your year recently. Also feel free to ask any weather related question that you might have about the future of the in your specific area. Alright, so let us take a look at what the U.S. National Hurricane Center is showing on their 7-day graphical tropical weather outlook. We can see that as of 7 p.m. this evening, we still have nothing much happening across the Caribbean main development region. What we do have is right there to the north of the main development region. This system that had a 60% chance of cyclone formation yesterday now has a 40% chance, so we can see there's some amount of fluctuation in the chances of formation. And it is still expected to move towards the south, then to the east, then to the north, hopefully missing the Azores Islands. If we take a look at the Euro and the GFS model, recording what's going to be happening across the Caribbean, we can still see that moisture associated with that trough of low pressure still expected to pass to the south of Jamaica and then head into sections of Central America. And we can see that both the Euro and the GFS are in consensus with this happening, and we can even see the remnants of the system more in the way of high level clouds than anything else. Not seeing much deep convection, not much reds that indicate some crazy thunderstorm activity across the sea. It's definitely an El Nino year for sure. Little to no convection at all. The one little rain event that took place across Jamaica was enough, especially considering all of the warm air that the warm waters that we have across the Caribbean. So something was bound to happen with all of that moisture. As usual, the warmer the climate, the more moisture that we're going to be laying around. Taking a look at the surface map of the Atlantic for this evening, we can still see that trough of low pressure attached to a cold front that stretches all the way up into the northern section of North Atlantic, and we can see that low pressure area that the Hurricane Center is watching that's expected to move to the southeast, then to the east, then to the north. You can also see a cold front right there off the southeastern coast of the United States. And if we take a look at the visible satellite images of the Atlantic before the sun went down, we can see the clouds associated with that cold front and air flow pressure that stretches all the way from the northern sections of North Atlantic all the way down into portions of the northeastern Caribbean, stretching all the way into the south central Caribbean as well, associated with that area of low pressure. We can also see the clouds associated with that cold front that we just mentioned off the southeast coast of the United States, and we can see it is causing some amount of cloudy weather, showers and thunderstorms in sections of Florida, the open waters of the Gulf of Mexico, as well as portions of Mexico. We'll be talking more about the Caribbean weather later on. Let us focus our attention on the prediction that was made in yesterday's video about the weather across Jamaica for today. It was stated in yesterday's video that northeastern Jamaica would have received some amount of rainfall, especially during the morning hours. Northeastern Jamaica, we're talking about maybe Portland, sections of St. Mary and St. Anne. And although no post was made this morning on our Twitter, Instagram or Facebook page, yes, we indeed had that cloud cover and there's some isolated showers across sections of some northeastern parishes. Then by afternoon, we saw some amount of clouds bring some overcast skies and isolated showers to sections of St. James and Hanover as well. We didn't see much happening across the infrared satellite images that usually show the high cold cloud tops, the blues, greens, yellows, oranges and red, because there was no thunderstorm activity taking place. Lots of dry air taking shape and keeping a lid on all of that bad weather. However, we can see where we indeed had that rainfall, even although some of this is showing it a bit more robust than it was actually, than what actually took place. We can see that yes, we had that isolated shower activity across sections of Portland spilling into sections of St. Mary, and then just like what we saw on the visible satellite images just now, sections of St. James and Hanover definitely got in on some afternoon showers. And we can see on the See Jamaica YouTube channel the live stream from Crossroads. This was about 9:30 a.m. this morning. For the most part, a clear day, partly cloudy here and there, but that's the case, especially considering the amount of dry air that we have across the basin. So not much in the way of cloud cover, showers, or thunderstorms at all. As relates to the temperatures right now across Jamaica, we can see that we have 26 degrees Celsius in Montego Bay, 25 degrees Celsius in Kingston, and by about 3 a.m. on Thursday, the temperature should dip down to about 22 degrees Celsius in Kingston, 25 degrees Celsius in Montego Bay. As it relates to the temperature forecast for Thursday, this map is valid for 18D on Thursday. When we calculate that, that's 1 p.m. on Thursday. You can see Jamaica for the most part embedded in some clear colors and some slight yellows as well. So definitely more in the way of average to slightly above normal temperatures, so at least 1 degree Celsius above normal. I want to know the normal temperatures for the month of November across Jamaica, 88 degrees Fahrenheit. And we take a look at the thermometer, 88 degrees Fahrenheit is about the same as 30 degrees Celsius. So we should be receiving anywhere from 30 to 31 degrees Celsius at most for Jamaica's temperature on Thursday. As it relates to the dry air map, we can still see a lot of dry air stretching all the way across the Caribbean. Lots of dry air. It is the season for such activity. We're wrapping up the hurricane season, we're wrapping up the thunderstorm season, so there's going to be a lot of dry air, to keep the atmosphere stable. We know winter is, and we're stepping into winter as soon as we step into the month of December. Definitely more in the way of cold fronts than anything else, and with the cold front, a lot of cold, dry, stable air behind it, with the occasional stalled out front across the north coast, bringing some amount of rainfall to sections of St. Thomas and Portland, especially with that northeast trade wind. We're going to be talking more about that in future videos. As it relates to the Saharan dust forecast for 2 p.m. on Thursday, we can still see that majority of the Caribbean is in the clear. Jamaica is in the clear. Jamaica is right there behind the word port, stands for Port-au-Prince. We're talking about the capital of Haiti. And we can see majority of the dust associated with the Sahara Desert right there across sections of the main development region and Africa. As it relates to the sea surface temperatures, much of the same across the Atlantic, but we can still see the Eastern Pacific is winning with all of these very warm temperatures associated with the El Nino. And it's this El Nino that is definitely having an impact on the weather across the Atlantic, making it not as robust as we would have expected, but it has been an active hurricane season in the Atlantic, especially with these very warm waters. Definitely, if we had this portion of the Eastern Pacific colder than normal, maybe with a La Nina or a neutral type of condition, I'm pretty sure that we would have had even more activity across the Atlantic basin, because as usual, wherever the water is the warmest, that is where we have the most thunderstorm activity, the most weather taking place across the globe. And we can see that definitely the Eastern Pacific was winning, even although we had a very active Atlantic hurricane season, even although it's not really done yet, but it's almost there. And it must be made mention, the heat potential. So it's not only warm at the surface like what we see on these maps. It's very warm the deeper we go in the sea, especially around the area across the western and central Caribbean, near Haiti, Jamaica, the Cayman Islands, sections of southern Cuba, and the east of Mexico right there. And we know these systems use up these very warm waters, to intensify, but it looks like all of this water is going to be going to waste if it doesn't hold on to this for the 2024 hurricane season. We shall see exactly what unfolds as time goes on. As relates to the wave forecast, we can see that surrounding the island we see a lot of blues, and we see by the key at the bottom right, these blues represent anywhere from 1 to 1.5 meter wave heights, and that's because the winds are gonna be some average wind anywhere from 10 to at least maybe 15 knots coming in from the east. And we can see those blues across the island. That is showing where we're going to be having the least amount of winds across, especially central and western parishes in Jamaica. And we know what usually happens. All of those clouds come in from the east, then we have all of that air piling up, bringing way for some amount of daytime heating, and then we have some amount of afternoon rainfall. So we shall see exactly what unfolds. Either way, we can see the upper level winds are going to be coming in from the west for tomorrow. Right now, just like what we saw on the infrared satellite images, the upper level winds are coming in from the southeast, as you can see by those high level clouds that are coming in from that system to the south of the island. For tomorrow, they're going to be coming from west to east. So anything that brings us some amount of rainfall across central and western Jamaica, whatever high cold cloud tops, develop cumulonimbus clouds, they're going to be blowing up to the east, bringing more into west overcast skies to section of some central and eastern parishes. As it relates to the rainfall forecast, we can see that we have some blues that represent rainfall. What time is this? This is 2 a.m. on Thursday, and we see that rainfall across sections of some eastern parishes as well as some northern and southern coastal areas. Look at that. The Euro model showing some blues across southern Portland. GFS model showing some blues across sections of coastal areas of St. Mary. Sections of Portland, St. Thomas on both the Euro and the GFS models could be getting in on some amount of early morning rainfall. Skipping ahead to about 7 a.m. Jamaica time, we still see much of the same. Some blues that represent rainfall, especially out to sea right there off the coast of Portland. Some of that making its way into sections of St. Thomas and eastern Portland as well on both maps. Then skipping ahead to about 4 p.m. Jamaica time. Look at that, we start to see more of the blues spreading across sections of some central and western parishes. So it's not only eastern parishes that's going to be getting in on it, definitely sections of some central and western parishes. Who knows, maybe sections of Kingston and St. Andrew, St. Catherine, just like what these maps are showing. Sections of some western parishes as well. It's going to be interesting to see what unfolds. Either way, I hope that you know your parishes. Eastern parishes, we're talking about those parishes in the county of Surrey. Central parishes, we're talking about those parishes in the county of Middlesex. Western parishes, we're talking about those parishes in the county of Cornwall. And as it relates to the accumulated precipitation forecast, we can see that the focus of the rainfall for the next 24 hours from now up until 10 p.m. on a Thursday has majority of the rainfall within that time period across eastern Jamaica on both the Euro and the GFS models. Euro model not so robust, showing up to 0.11 of an inch across the east and 0.13 of an inch across the northwest. GFS showing up to 0.06 of an inch across the northwest and up to 0.17 of an inch of rainfall across the east. Either way, we're still on the low end of the scale in terms of rainfall, but we can see that there's consensus that eastern Jamaica is going to be getting in on the most of the rainfall for Thursday, and we'll take all the rainfall that we can get. We're in the month of November, we're wrapping up the rainy season, so we'll take all the rainfall before we step into the months of December through to April, which are our very dry seasons, our very dry season across the Jamaica area. Alright, so that's it for the forecast across Jamaica. Let us focus our attention on the rest of the Caribbean. So we can see that we definitely have some amount of clouds starting to make their way associated with the tail end of that cold front, make their way into sections of Puerto Rico, the Leeward Island, starting to get in on some amount of rainfall. Even sections of the Dominican Republic could get in on some of that. We can also see some rainfall coming into sections of the Windward Islands, so Grenada, Trinidad and Tobago, just like what we saw in yesterday's video on the forecast maps. You can see some of that into sections of French Guyana, southern Venezuela, Colombia, Panama, Costa Rica as usual. And if we take a look at the Doppler radar images of the northeastern Caribbean, we're going to be confirming that rainfall that we just saw on the satellite images across the northeastern Caribbean. Look at that, definitely a lot of hit or miss showers across sections of Puerto Rico, the US and British Virgin Islands, sections of St. Kitts and Nevis, St. Martin, Antigua and Barbuda, Anguilla, and all of this will be moving southeastward, or let's say west-southwestward. Yes, definitely southeastward. Look at that flow coming in from that direction. So there's definitely a lot more rainfall to come with the clouds associated with that stalled out front, as all of this is being pushed towards the south and the west. As it relates to the Barbados radar, not much happening to the north of Barbados at all. All of this that we see with the yellows and grays, don't pay that in mind. That's ground clutter. Almost all the radars have ground clutter. We've been talking about ground clutter on the Cable and Doppler radar images of Jamaica a lot, and all of this that we see, it's not rain at all, so don't be fooled. What we see across the waters though, that are pushing from east to west, a lot of rainfall, just like what we saw on the satellite images. So some of that gonna be making its way into section of Grenada tonight, maybe section of Tobago, and it's gonna be training. Look at that, definitely in an east-west fashion. As it relates to the weather, we have uploaded our images. We can see some passing shores to the north of the ABC island, as well as sections of some northern portions of Guatemala. As it relates to the temperature forecast for tomorrow, we can see that majority of the Caribbean should be getting in on some slightly above normal temperatures, averaging anywhere from 1 to 3 degrees Celsius above normal. As it relates to the Saharan dust forecast for 2 p.m. on Thursday, majority of the Caribbean should be in the clear, with all of the Saharan dust right there across portions of the eastern Main Development region. As it relates to the wave forecast, majority of the Caribbean should be getting in on anywhere from 0.5 meter to at least 1.5 meter wave heights, and that's because the winds are not going to be that strong at all, averaging anywhere from 5 to at least 15 knots at most, coming in from the east, as we can see by those greens, and we see the key on the bottom right represents all of this. As it relates to the rainfall forecast, now we're looking at the greens. We know the greens and the slight yellows represent some amount of isolated rainfall, and there's definitely some in the forecast, all courtesy of the tail end of that cold front that we just mentioned for sections of the eastern Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, St. Kitts and Nevis, St. Martin, sections of Antigua and Barbuda, St. Anguilla, while we start to see it dwindling to the south of there. So definitely not much in the way of rainfall for sections of Guadeloupe, Dominica, Martinique, St. Lucia, but look at the area to the south of there, maybe southern Barbados, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Grenada, Trinidad and Tobago, still to be getting in on some more rainfall. Look at where else gonna be getting in on some rainfall: Suriname, French Guyana, Guyana, section of southern Venezuela especially, western Venezuela, Colombia, Panama, Costa Rica, Nicaragua, especially eastern Nicaragua, associated with that area that Hurricane Center was watching. And we can also see some rainfall in store for sections of Guatemala, southern Belize, and even sections of the coastal areas of the Yucatan Peninsula, and even into sections of the Cayman Islands with some isolated showers. Not much in the way of rainfall for the Bahamas or Florida, but maybe some isolated pockets across sections of Cuba. And we know that when both the Euro and the GFS models are showing something similar like this, the chances of it actually happening are much higher. Alright, so that's it for today. Thanks for watching.